We are continually told that locally elected municipal leaders have the freedom to participate in this plan or not. I humbly suggest that you walk the talk and put away the stick. Make a public declaration that MTC will promptly pass through all state-collected tax revenue to each municipality to which it is rightly entitled without requiring compliance with one Bay Area as a condition to get that money. If your program has merit, you should not need civic extortion to sell it at the local level. Thank you.
Yes, MTC and ABAG members, I want to tell you that you are tone deaf, mathematically challenged, and scientifically ignorant. First of all, on the issue of being tone deaf, what you heard was not what happened in all of the visioning sessions. Most of the people that attended those sessions were against central regional planning. They were in favor of local planning. You completely ignored that. And then you went out, because you didn't get the answer you wanted, you went out and you hired a marketing firm to give you the answer that you wanted. Okay, in terms of being mathematically challenged, folks, the state is broke, the federal government is broke, and people are leaving this area. And nothing you're going to do with this stupid One Bay Area plan is going to bring them back. You are creating, in fact, the very situation that makes housing unaffordable in the Bay Area. Your little buddies that transform and...
I would think if you folks are really interested in what the public has to say, you'd give them an opportunity to finish a sentence. Through this whole process, I don't really think that you've cared one hoot about what the public has had to say. That was evident at all 9 of your visioning sessions throughout the Bay. You had to go out and pick specialized special interest groups to do polling after those meetings to come up with the answer that you want. And that is not what the public wants, and I think that was clearly expressed at your visioning sessions. We've got it on video. We've got the record of what happened at those meetings, and nothing that you say is going to change.
So my name is Matt Grocott. I'm the mayor of San Carlos, and I'm very troubled by these meetings because when we had one of the meetings in San Carlos, very few of our citizens even knew about it. It was at the airport in San Carlos. And then this meeting tonight, for folks from our city to come over here the way I did, and the convoluted way it is to get here, very difficult, is not indicative of something that's a public meeting. Even for me, I stepped outside to use the restroom and answer my phone. I couldn't get back in. The doors were locked. Now, I've been on council for 10, 11 years. We've had some pretty big meetings in San Carlos. We've never locked the doors on the public. So I'm very troubled by the process here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grocott. Sue Brandow, B. Phillips, and Pat Ferguson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is B. Phillips, and I'm a voter. I would like to express strong opposition to empowering regional government agencies to dictate policies on extremely critical issues such as land use, housing, and transportation. It's an unfortunate reality that actions by both state and federal governments have mandated the creation of regional agencies and handed over to them primarily through control of transportation funds, virtually unchecked authority on these vital issues. I firmly believe that primary responsibility of these issues must remain with elected officials who answer to the local voters.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've lived through Hitler, I've lived through Stalin and Mussolini. I do not like what you are doing.
All right. Good evening. I would like to repeat what others have always been saying, that you people have unelected positions on this quasi-dictatorial board. Basically, you are accountable to no one. And from what I saw in the visioning sessions, you are seeking to use government power to achieve collectivist goals. The Orinda City Council has already begun knuckling under to Sacramento Before citizens knew what was happening, we discovered the City Council had changed the zoning to allow rental units on some lots. We moved to Orinda in the 60s because it was a low-density community, so you can imagine our surprise to learn about this zoning change and then see your maps showing a transit town center in Orinda. Therefore, I am going to be vigilant and work to try and prevent Orinda transit town
Thank
center
you,
as
Janet.
it appears in your map. Thank you very much,
next
but
is-
we don't want your...
Sirs and madams, these types of utopian master plans don't work. They've never worked. They never will work. You cannot find one example in history where this has never done anything but create poverty and misery. The bureaucracy to implement this is mind-boggling. You people cannot even agree on one sentence regarding the new starts. Who is going to pay for this? Who's paying your salaries? What are we paying to have you all sit here looking at me with these blank expressions? Now, I believe that all your salaries and benefits should be public record, eh? The money is not...
I moved here from Boston area because I don't like density. I like single-family houses, places where you can see the hills and the trees. And I'm here tonight to support the environment and our existing sustainable communities throughout the Bay, and asking why we should be subsidizing population growth, this imaginary 2.1 million people who you seem to imply are going to arrive here like a flood. As it's currently framed, the plan is not going to reduce carbon emissions. Carbon emissions are going to rise by over 10%. If you reduce per capita emissions by 15% and increase population by 30%,
Thank you, Mr. Whitney.
do the multiplication, that's a 10% rise.
As I'm sitting here looking at all the bureaucrats, I'm thinking, I know why California is broke. And then I just can only think of snarky comments right now. I can't think of anything nice to say, but I did want to tell that if the girl wanted Aunt Becky in her house, why don't you try house sharing? Instead of bike sharing, car sharing, try sharing your house if you're so worried about your aunt getting here. Don't make us pay for it.
So what's wrong with regional governments and planning agencies? Well, nothing, unless you value our republic and our form of governance and individual freedom and detest autocracy in all its forms. Regional governance evolved as a way to get around the obstacles presented by multiple local governments, all of which may have a stake in the region but often disagree on what the region needs. From a Greenbelt press release here, it says that this One Bay Area plan emphasizes building new homes and townhomes, apartments, and condominiums. That simply sounds like stack 'em and pack 'em housing, which they simply say is denied and that we always talk about. Well, 80% of new homes and 66% of new jobs will be in priority development areas, places near current and planned transit, which certainly sounds like a very condensed view of this Bay Area. So the LA Times also has an article called California Declares War on Suburbia. Just look that up.
Thank you, Sean.
I just wanted to say it to the girl who thought that this is going to make the housing more affordable, because apparently in Portland it is not more affordable as a result of this type of planning. I made statements at a previous meeting and I didn't see any of my ideas represented in your lists of what you heard, and so I was just going to repeat some things I said. And I would propose 3 actions for our communities. And first, that we devise plans to encourage an environment that releases the ingenuity of individual Americans to solve problems. And we do this by respecting property rights and by believing in our ability to create life and prosperity. And your ideas, such as encouraging the raising of tolls and parking fees, or to discourage the use of cars, and packing people into high-rises and the kind of buildings that you take photographs of, would result in an elite group at the top.
Marlene, Hoffaker, Carl Anthony,
Marlene
and
Huffinger.
then Paloma Panel.
Hi, my name is Marlene Huffaker. I'm a citizen, a free citizen at this point, and I'm here to agree with those who feel that unelected boards should not be making plans of this magnitude that will change our lives drastically based upon not very sound scientific evidence that your ideas will improve the environment. You've said that the underlying goals are to improve the environment and the economy and something called equity. I don't think there's good evidence that those things are really going to be improved by the ideas that you've put forth and so massively planned. I think that using money to blackmail cities into agreeing with your ideas is also an un-American approach to a problem.
Thanks.
Planning scheme is good, but I would just try to keep this short and sweet as I can and ask two questions. One, how many members of this council own a single home, own one or more cars, live in the suburbs or the country areas? And with that, how many of you would be willing to give all that up and move into one of these so-called mass transit villages next to the BART? And if you're not, remember what Abraham Lincoln said, as I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master.
Just go ahead.
I'm not sure where we're at right now.
Give me your name and I'll know where we're at. So.
Are we in the UN?
Yeah.
Sounds like Agenda 21 to me. Socialism, communism, and I don't think any of you understand our Constitution. You talked about various things. If you look at buses, how many people do you see on the buses? Look at the bike lanes. We have a lot of them. How many people do you see in the bike lanes other than sometimes on Saturdays? Think, oh, by the way, what do you exhale? Now we're talking about something that's not in fact. Global warming, green gases. It is not in fact. You're trying to let everybody know it is. I think a lot of the professors think it is, but they're misinformed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As stated recently in a Vallejo City Council, we talk to you, but we have no evidence that you listen. It's obvious from reviewing the agenda and associated PowerPoint and plan highlights that MTC has included no real input from the many sessions, websites, and mentioned sources, except some of the same gibberish that we started out with. The demographics used have no basis in reality. Have you not looked around sufficiently enough to realize California is hammering jobs, businesses, and people to other states that are user-friendly? The only industry growing in California is regulation and government. With empty buildings throughout the PDA target towns, infill and the plan do not pencil out. And as to global warming, climate change, it's facetious on the MTC's part not to understand that the International Climate Change Commission head, Ottoman Edenhofer, said what's been about redistribution of wealth.